Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook pregame of round 2 between Avs and Coyotes, this time in Arizona. I think a lot of people are expecting a little bit more out of Colorado in this game, but where do you two stand on it? AJ, Blais, you think the Avs could come out hot in this one and put a team down quick?
Yes.
I mean, I'll go first. I mean, obviously, like a lot of people were, on Twitter, which I saw because that's one of the ways that I consumed the game last night, weren't too happy with how the Avs were playing last night, but they came out with a win, right? And it wasn't a shootout, but it's still a win. Now, obviously, you're giving a point to to Arizona, but I don't think that really matters in the grand scheme of things.
Nope. All right. So, on that front, as chat has already mentioned, Gabe Landeskog is back for Colorado tonight. You expect him to make an impact. He'll be back on the first line, you would expect. How do you bring Gabe Landeskog back? Do you bring him in this game and just let him go full bore? Or do you use this, no warm-up game kind of thing, even with Arizona?
Nope.
All right.
If it ends up being a warm-up game because they've smoked them and it's 5-1 in the third period, then
fine.
Cool. Yeah. That's where you cool the Jets on the second half of the back-to-back. But it being Sega Baba territory, he's going to have the freshest legs of anybody, so go all in with it.
True enough. He will be I believe the only person in the lineup with fresh legs.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're counting Kuemper, then yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Kuemper didn't play, but he doesn't do a whole lot of skating. So
yeah.
In these back-to-back home-and-home style situations, one, how important is adjustments from game to game in a situation like this? And two, how realistic is doing that? Like, you're not going to make major adjustments, but do minor adjustments really happen that much in playing the same team twice in a row?
Definitely, because when you have the regular schedule where you play a team, like you do your video work and then you add in your wrinkles to what you do, the couple of things that you want to focus on. But when you play them literally the night before, you can say, okay, well, here are the things that worked or didn't work from that game plan. We're either going to keep these in or we're going to readjust these. Obviously Landeskog coming back in is like your big wrinkle, right? There's the ace up your sleeve, but I would fully expect that there is not a major change, but I bet we see maybe a little more consistency in the power play, especially, and that top line. I'd be willing. I would put money on it, but you never know, right? But I would put money on McKinnon going back to that half wall instead of rotating all around like he does with Landy out.
Yeah.
And then them kind of running that Makar, Rantanen, McKinnon triangle up high, and then working their way from there. So that's where I think that we'll see the biggest Landy related wrinkle.
Okay.
I mean, the other part of that too, right, is the lines kind of go back to being in somewhat of a normal spot for the forwards. So hopefully you see that kind of effect, just downstream from that first line. Going back to putting money on that first line, I did.
Shocking.
I didn't have a great night last night, but it's because I wasn't watching. So that's
that was your problem.
That's how I'm justifying it.
I do want to get into the topic of the lines a little bit more, though. Like we said, obviously, Landy expected to go on the first line. That'll kick Berkey back down to the second line.
Yeah.
But what are you looking at for the depth options? The expectation with Landy back in and Murray out is that McDermott will move back to D, leaving that open spot on the fourth line that has to be filled by someone else. So who do you drop down with what would be Jost and Maltsev?
At this point, I would say LOC.
Okay.
Comfort would also be fine, but I don't think they would do that. But LOC has been really quiet for a while now. And he's not really doing a whole lot. So I think I would probably start there. At the risk of breaking up what I think has been a pretty good little combination with New Hook and LOC.
It's tough, right? It feels like it has to be LOC or Comfort because Knack has been playing quite well lately. They even gave him some shifts with the second line at times because he's been playing that well. Obviously, you're not moving New Hook off of 3C. He's pretty much locked in there.
I feel like New Hook and Knack have both played well enough lately. Knack especially that for me, I'm not having that conversation just because Knack has been so solid.
Yeah.
But you could also make the argument that, hey, when a guy's going well like that, maybe that's the time to move him onto a different line and he gives juice to the guys that are around him. Because you look at a Maltsev, Jost, and Knack fourth line, you're talking about a different element of a fourth line. That's two really physical guys. It could be, depending on how Maltsev feels that on any given night. It could be two really physical guys in Maltsev and Knack. And you've got a lot of try hard there between Knack and Jost. And there's enough skill there that I think you could not just be getting by on your fourth line shift anymore.
Yeah.
Because that's where we've been, where we've seen the Avs for weeks now.
They're a willingness to play them a little bit more than 6 minutes on a night. Yeah.
Well, they're just sort of surviving, man. Like they're just sort of drifting by. They're making it up. They're essentially playing with 11 forwards because even though McDermott's there, they're playing him so little that it's just not mattering.
He played just over 5 minutes last night, and that was the most he's played as a forward all year. So, in a game where they know they have a back-to-back the next day, it's definitely a tough look there. I do want to talk about Maltsev too, because look, we don't know how long Darren Helm is going to be out for exactly, but it seemed like last night was a good start for that dude making a case to stay in the lineup.
Yeah, I thought it was a positive game. I gave him a good grade. I liked what he did. I liked what he brought for the most part. I think it was 95% good. Yep. He should have had a point, and he drew a penalty.
Yep.
Out of 6 minutes of ice time, that's
productive for that 6 minutes.
That's a pretty big impact for a fourth line guy.
Yeah, it was definitely good work. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And
just got to build now. I mean, one solid performance is good, but now you have to build on it. You have to keep moving forward. You have to string together performances to show them, hey, on a night-to-night basis, I can be relied upon. I'm a guy that you can call my number.
The big selling point is, yes, it was against Arizona, but you drop Maltsev into the lineup, and suddenly that fourth line produces a goal.
Yeah.
A line that has not produced much at all this entire year for Colorado.
It's very true. It's also a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Excited to see more from him against Arizona. I'll put it that way. Hopefully he can keep it up. But the other obvious storyline going back to Arizona, the Avs giving Darcy Kuemper the start in Arizona. It's safe to say he's probably not going to have a massive workload on the night, but
you sure hope not. I mean, geez, man.
Right? Arizona can only come at you so hard. But I don't know. How do you guys feel about this? Obviously, with skaters, the X-team curse is pretty common throughout the league that skaters of their previous teams always seem to get a point against. But goaltenders against their previous teams, is the balance a little bit different, Blais, or is it the same kind of feeling for you?
Man, I have no clue on that one, right? You always know about players moving over there, but from a goalie perspective, I'd wonder, looking at the stats, what does it look like when they come back and play that team again, for the first time? Are they pumped, especially when it's an away game, right? In your old barn, right? So you're there, you kind of know how everything runs in there and what to expect. I mean, obviously these guys, they tour around these places, but somebody that's so familiar with the facility, like, is he just comfortable and ready to go? Love to see a Darcy Kuemper game of Arizona stature when he was playing playoff hockey against the Avs.
Yeah.
I'd like to see one of those type of games from him.
Did you know, since we're talking about
not.
Darcy Kuemper's workload, that the Arizona Coyotes have not won a single game this year when they've outshot their opponent?
Really?
In 35 games, they've only outshot their opponent 5 times.
Yeesh. And they lost
Yeah.
all 5.
5. Yeah,
That's
4,
crazy.
4 in regulation and 1 in overtime.
Jeez. All right.
That's an anomaly, right? Like, so crazy.
So
and then they
maybe-
beat the Leafs by, like, they got outshot
18
like
to 46.
times 3.
Maybe we want Darcy to have a big workload for the Avs tonight, then, but based on that statistic, I guess. I don't know. But
the Avs, similarly, the Avs are last in the NHL in wins in which they were outshot by their opponent.
Sounds about right.
They are 3-6-2.
Only been outshot 11 times, though.
That sounds about
34
like
games,
what
yeah.
it should be, though. Like, that sounds like a real stat, not the first one.
Yeah. That's a normal thing.
Oh, so they lose games where they get outplayed? Huh. Okay.
Yeah. If anybody's curious why I don't take Nashville super seriously, they're 13-5-2 when they're being outshot.
Yeah.
So
anyway. A lot of getting by right there.
That was just a workload related thing that I wanted to look up real quick while you guys were getting into Kuemper.
I do want to continue this Kuemper storyline, though. It probably doesn't apply as much to Arizona because that team has had a lot of turnover. But we kind of talked about it when the Avs played Grubauer. That's a guy a lot of the players practice against every day. They know the places to shoot the puck, right? So
yeah, I mean, you look at the way that Kadri approached Grubauer in that Seattle
he had
game.
His spot picked that whole game.
Yeah.
4 shots to the same spot.
That said, with so many regulars and so many guys that out of their lineup that were on the team last year, there may not be a ton of familiarity in that lineup
outside of like Kessel.
Yeah, and like
and Chikrin, I guess.
You're probably not super concerned about whatever book Christian Fisher has on you.
And those looks aren't going to be like stellar looks either if the Avs are on their defensive game.
The Avs do in fact have defenders, it turns out. So
there's going to be quite a few Colorado people in the crowd tonight, just FYI, because I'm like hooked into the hockey at lower levels. The whole NCYH program is there this weekend at a hockey tournament, and they're basically all going to this game tonight. And it's a pretty large organization that's going to be down there for this game.
That's awesome.
There you go. Yeah, the ticket sales for that whole arena probably. Had to get my shot while I could.
That's the one place where I actually got bogus tickets.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I bought tickets that were like way down on the glass and ended up getting there and they're like, these aren't real, buddy. I was like, sweet, I'm out like $350.
Arizona was the first road city that I ever covered where I learned that there was no media parking in every building. I just assumed that there was because every city I'd been to at that point, there had been. And I had flown into Vegas and rented a car and drove to Arizona because the Avs went to Arizona and then flew to Vegas. So I drove down and was like, I like follow their media guide instructions and do everything that we're supposed to do, right? And I go in there and they're like, first of all, the media parking is in like the hotel, like next to the arena. And they were like, no, you got to pay $10. And I was like, I mean, okay, but Mickey Mouse, I swear to God. Like, I understand it at Staples Center because of where that arena is located. It just doesn't exist.
There's not enough parking.
But Gila River Arena, the whole appeal of that arena, the only appeal of that arena is that it's in like a separate like entertainment district style area.
Yeah.
And
it's like
there's
Disney
plenty
there.
of parking for it. And it was just like, okay.
What you should have done is just stayed there and then negotiated once they knew they weren't going to get your money for them and paid $5. Because then you'd feel like you're a part of the organization as well. So
yeah,
that's how Arizona rolls.
good Lord.
All right. One more important question here before we get to making some money. How important is this game to Colorado and getting these 2 points? Because if they win, they would officially be first in the Central Division, as they would be tied with Nashville, who lost in overtime tonight to this afternoon, really. But also, it's game 35 for Colorado. So a lot of season left, but could this be the point where they take over the top of the Central and just never look back? Or are you not too worried about it?
Yeah, I think this should be it for that reason. I mean, you move into first place, you've got 4 games in hand. There you go, you're in the driver's seat. It's not like you have a particularly daunting schedule ahead of you where you're like, well, you know, they're going to be favored. I mean, you've got an afternoon game against Minnesota coming up, and I tell you, it doesn't matter who you play in an afternoon game. Those are always coin flips. They're just weird. They're weird for everybody involved. Everything is off. If you're familiar in any way with circadian rhythm, you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Players usually wake up around 1 p.m. on game days.
It totally screws with everybody involved. But then after that, you've got the two California teams, which you should beat. Then you get Montreal and Chicago. Okay. And then there's a Boston game. That's legit. But then you get Chicago, Buffalo, Arizona again.
So you should be able to put a lot of distance on teams.
There should be should be liftoff for the upward trajectory of them being like, I mean, it's not like they're going to be able to top what they've been doing. True. Their 10-game stretch, it needs to be like 8-1-1 again in order for them to just keep up with the pace that they've set. But when you look at the schedule and you're like, it's soft. Like they went through the first month of the schedule. Their worst stretch of the season when they were never healthy was also their toughest stretch so far this year. But they go through such a soft, smart part of the schedule that you got to take advantage of these. You know, look, you drop one, it's not the worst thing in the world, of course. But like these are points that you should be taking. You know, these are the ones where the other teams are going to get fat off of them. You need to do the same thing. You need to eat greedy against bad teams. Yep. And I mean, Arizona is just, they're next level bad. And you kind of need to turbo dunk on them. Not need, but like, you're just better than those guys. You really shouldn't be losing to them.
Can we get that as a quote graphic? They're next level bad. You kind of need to turbo dunk on them.
I mean, in the grand scheme of this thing, right? Like what AJ was saying, it's not a big deal if you lose this, but like from a morale standpoint, from the Avs nation, like you want this win, right? Like this team, you played them last night. You're a better team than them. It didn't really show very much last night, but one of those things is like they might have been high up on their horse trying to just stay with the Avs. Like, can you do that for 2 games back to back when the Avs probably can if they want to, right? Like they have that skill level. They don't have to exert as much energy in a game to get the same kind of offense that Phoenix has to do to get that type of offense from them.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely true. And the Avs did plenty of coasting the other night. So.
Lots of 2-foot glides. Very, very good. Parallel skates on the ice. Looks good.
All right. Let's get into Betmaster Blais. Back to actually.
Yeah, but I mean,
I
went 1 for 3. I'm kind of, I went 1 for 3 last game and 2 for 3 the game before. I'm going kind of big on the first line, and then obviously with the X factor, with the defense with Makar. But Landy anytime goal at plus 155. He's back. He's rested. I think he's going to have a little jump in his step. He's ready to go. Mikko shots on goal. at plus 115. Again, like last night, I was betting on a bigger Mikko game, and I'm going to keep betting it because he is on that first line, right? So at some point, he's going to have one of those games. That, again, shots on goal is kind of a safe bet, I feel. 3.5 is a little high, and then Makar, 0.5 on power play points. I mean, this one's just paid off so many times. It's paid off more than I've lost on it. So I'm going to keep going back to it as long as the odds are good on it.
I still feel like Makar bets are just free money from DraftKings a lot of nights. So don't mind that one at all. Mikko, I think Landy being back will help, right? Because they'll start looking for Mikko to fire pucks on the power play again to get those shots. And then, Landy, I'm here for it. Hope he has a good return. Again, when the Avs play Arizona, you got get a little bit creative if you want to make money on this hockey game, because taking things like the money line is not really going to
there's no value there. So. And there's no value anymore in Makar in assists. Like, it's plummeted.
LOC is on the fourth line, by the way.
There you go. There's the official line set up. So you're good to go there. It'll be Knack, Kuemper, and Newhook as the third line for you. It's crazy to think that this is the healthiest we've seen the Avs forward core this entire year.
Yeah.
Hopefully it stays that way after tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, is this the healthiest it's been, the forward group?
Yep. With the only person you could argue would be in the lineup if they're healthy as Helm, and even that some people would be about. So I think it's the closest they've been. Certainly on the forward side. The defensive side, they're only missing Murray and Byram. So
perfect.
There we go. Yes. That's exactly what we needed.
Put that on Twitter.
Post that to Insta. Get it out there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, throw that up there again. All right, I got it.
Okay,
that needs to go up. Let's go.
All right, we're about 10 minutes away from puck drop, so we're going to wrap up this pregame show for you. You can find us at the postgame after the game going live, so be sure to tune in here on YouTube for that. Be sure to like and subscribe on the channel. We appreciate all of y'all hanging out. No watch along again today, but we'll do one again pretty soon here. I've got some plans I'm working on, so hope to see you after the game. Until then, we'll talk to you later.